All right, let's dive right into another deep dive. This time we're going to be looking at something that could maybe make learning to drive a little bit easier. Expert Driving Lessons has a new online booking system. We're going to be pulling all the info directly from their website. But more importantly, what we really want to do is look at how this could affect both instructors and learners, like you listening right now.
Yeah. It's really interesting because the system isn't just about making things easier. It's also about making things a lot more transparent. So, think about it for a second. You're able to see when an instructor is free and the stuff they offer, like whether they're doing the standard Category B licenses or those BE licenses if you want to learn to tow. You can even see how much they charge, all that in one place and whenever you want.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's like everything you need to know is just right there. You don't have to wait for someone to call you back or try to find the info yourself. So how does this new system actually work?
Well, Xpert has tried to make it pretty simple to use. There are three main steps. You got to sign up, then you got to set up your schedule. And you can have different types of lessons, like 1-hour manual lessons, 2-hour automatic lessons. They even have some packages where you can rent a car for your driving test. And once you've done all that, then you can start accepting bookings.
Okay, so it sounds pretty simple. But what about the special features? What makes this system different from all the others?
Well, the features they have are pretty good, I think. Instructors have a lot of control. For example, they can approve, reject, or even reschedule bookings if they need to. And the system even handles all those people who forget to show up. The no-shows. It sends out automatic notifications and reminders. It even stops you from accidentally double booking yourself, which can be a real lifesaver when you're super busy.
Yeah, for sure. That kind of automation would free up a ton of time and energy for instructors, so they could spend more time on the most important thing, which is teaching. There is something I'm curious about, though. It says that this system is part of Xpert's main website, which gets thousands of visitors every single month. Can you tell us a little bit more about why that's so important?
Sure. So think about it like this. That booking function isn't just a separate tool. It's actually part of a platform where people are already looking for instructors. So basically, learners who are on Xpert's site looking for someone to teach them to drive, well, they're going to be shown the option to book a lesson right then and there. So those driving schools could end up reaching way more potential students than they would otherwise. It's a really smart way to get yourself out there and find new clients.
Ah, I see. So it's like a built-in marketing tool as well. That's a big bonus, especially for new instructors who are just starting out or trying to grow their business. Now, I know the system can be customized, but can you give us some specific examples of how that works in practice?
Yeah, absolutely. So say you're an instructor and you specialize in teaching nervous drivers. You can change your profile and what you offer to show that you have that expertise. That way, learners who are nervous will be able to find you more easily. Or maybe you teach lessons in a few different languages. The system lets you list all those languages so you can reach even more students.
That's a great point. Being able to make the system fit your own needs is a huge advantage. It means that the system works for you, not the other way around.
Right.
But let's be real, no system is absolutely perfect. It says here that there are a few things that it can't do, like it's only web-based, and it doesn't work with personal websites or other booking systems. So how big of a deal are these drawbacks, in your opinion? Could they be deal breakers for some instructors?
I think it really depends on how comfortable the instructor is with technology and how they're already handling their bookings. If someone's used to working mostly online and they're happy to manage everything through Xpert's platform, then those limitations probably wouldn't be a big deal. But for someone who really needs a mobile app or has a really complicated booking system that's connected to their own website, well, it could be a different story for them.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's about finding the right balance, the simplicity and convenience of Xpert system versus having more flexibility and control with a more personalized setup. So it really comes down to weighing those pros and cons and figuring out what works best for each instructor. But let's switch gears a little bit here and talk about you, the learner. How could this new system change things for you when you're booking your driving lessons?
Well, first of all, think about how convenient it would be. You can book a lesson anytime you want. It doesn't matter if it's the middle of the night. You don't have to worry about calling during office hours or waiting for someone to call you back. This puts you in the driver's seat when it comes to your schedule. You can look at different instructors, compare what they're offering, and book whenever it's good for you, even if it's 3 a.m.
Okay, I have to admit, booking a driving lesson at 3 in the morning does sound kind of nice, especially if you work crazy hours or have a really busy schedule. But convenience aside, are there any other advantages for learners?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Remember all that transparency we were talking about earlier? Well, that's good for learners too. You can see all the important stuff right away, like what kind of lessons they offer, how much they charge, what their qualifications are. You can even see reviews from other students, so you can make a good decision and choose the instructor who's right for you.
That makes sense. Having all that info up front can help you feel more confident about your choice. But I am wondering if there are any downsides for learners. For example, could using this system mean lessons end up costing more? Because instructors might have to pay to use the platform.
That's a good question. And yeah, it's possible that some instructors might raise their prices a little bit to cover those fees, but on the other hand, it could actually save them money in the long run because it makes things more efficient and cuts down on all that admin stuff they have to do. So I guess it really just depends on the instructor and where they work.
So it's a bit of a mixed bag then. It could go either way, and I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens as more instructors start using the system. But let's zoom out a little and think about the bigger picture here. Do you think this system could become the new standard for driver education?
That's a good question. It's hard to say for sure. On the one hand, it definitely fits in with how we do a lot of things these days. It's convenient, it's efficient, and it gives both learners and instructors more control.
And from a business perspective, it makes sense for driving schools to automate this stuff. It gives them more time and energy to focus on teaching.
Exactly. But then again, there are some things about the old way of doing things that technology might not be able to replace. Like the relationship between the instructor and the learner.
Yeah, that personal connection is so important, especially when it comes to something like driving, because there's a lot of anxiety and uncertainty involved. Sometimes you just need a reassuring voice or someone to actually be there with you to help you feel comfortable.
Right. A good instructor is more than just someone who teaches you how to drive. They're like a mentor, a guide, sometimes even a therapist. And building that kind of relationship is really important when you're learning something new.
So maybe the best solution is to combine the best of both worlds. Use technology to handle all the logistics and free up more time for those personal interactions.
I think that's a great point. Technology should make the learning experience better, not replace the human element completely.
It's all about finding that balance, right? Well, we've talked about a lot today, from the details of this new booking system to the future of driver education. Maybe it's time for a quick recap of the main points before we move on.
Sure. So we started by talking about how convenient and transparent Xpert's new booking system is, and how it makes things easier for both learners and instructors. They have more control over their schedules, and they can see all the info they need right away.
Then we looked at all the cool features it has, like how instructors can customize their profiles and services to attract the right students. We also talked about the things it can't do, like the fact that it doesn't have a mobile app or work with personal websites. And we talked about how those could be deal breakers for some instructors.
Yeah, and then we shifted our focus to you, the learner, and talked about how this system could change how you book your lessons, like how you can book 24/7, see all the info you need, and how it might affect the price of lessons.
And finally, we took a step back and asked ourselves, could this type of system be the future of driver education?
We talked about the advantages of automation and how it can make things more efficient, but we also talked about how important it is to keep that personal connection between instructors and learners.
Yeah, it seems like the future of driver education is going to be a pretty interesting mix of technology and human expertise.
Definitely. It's about finding that sweet spot where technology enhances the human experience, not replaces it.
This is all pretty cool stuff, but it's mainly about booking lessons, right? What about the actual learning to drive part? Do you think this tech could be used for that too?
You know, it's funny you should say that. We're already seeing all these amazing advances in virtual reality and augmented reality. Like, imagine a world where you could practice all the important driving skills in a safe virtual environment before you even get in a real car.
Yeah, that would be super helpful, especially for those things that can be really scary when you're first learning, like parallel parking or roundabouts. You could learn to do them perfectly in a virtual world.
Exactly. And it wouldn't just be for the basics. You could use virtual reality to simulate all kinds of hazardous conditions, like driving on ice or in pouring rain.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so learners could experience all those challenges in a safe environment.
Yeah. And the best part is, it's like having a virtual instructor right there with you all the time, giving you feedback and helping you through those tough situations.
Plus, I bet you could collect a ton of data from those simulations.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Instructors could use that data to see how their students are progressing, see where they need extra help and even personalize the lessons.
That sounds amazing. It's like a win-win for everyone. But we should probably talk about the ethical side of things too, right? Like, How do we make sure these virtual driving simulations are designed responsibly so they don't end up having any negative unintended consequences?
Yeah, that's a really important point. We need to be really careful with this tech. We have to make sure these virtual environments are like the real world and that everyone can use them, no matter who they are or what their abilities are. And we have to remember that they're meant to enhance the role of a real driving instructor, not replace them completely.
So it sounds like the future of driver education is going to be a really interesting mix of technology and human expertise.
Absolutely.
And as with any new technology, we have a responsibility to make sure it's used ethically and effectively, so everyone has a safer and more enjoyable learning experience.
I think that's a great way to put it.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive,
Yeah.
from the specifics of Xpert's new booking system to the broader role of technology in driver education. Hopefully this has given you some food for thought about the future of learning to drive.
Yeah, I hope so.
Thanks for joining us on this journey. It's been a fascinating exploration, and we hope you'll join us again for our next deep dive. Until then, keep those wheels turning. And remember, the road to knowledge is always under construction.